Dr. Yang Bing, who is Vice President and Provost of Tsinghua University, and Dr. Jeffrey Lehman, Vice Chancellor of NYU Shanghai, founding Vice Chancellor, I should say. So great honor. I may look young, but I'm mother of university-age children, so this is a topic of personal interest as well. Let's start with the very latest. Higher education, I think probably it's one of the most important aspects of people-to-people exchanges. If we just look at how important the Chinese leadership regards this aspect, I know that President Xi has written several letters in this year alone to students from the United States or educational institutions in the United States. The latest being on June the 6th of this year to the president of Kean University in the United States, to Mr. Lamont Paulette, where he talked about the importance of higher education exchanges between China and the United States. And the previous one was on February 24th of this year, where he talked to students from Iowa, from the small town of Muscatine, which is called the American hometown. I don't know whether you know the story of that place, a place that's very special to President Xi, and he replied a letter to students from a high school, local high school, after they visited China. As the first batch of participants to a student exchange program, which was launched in almost more than 1 year ago in San Francisco, after President Xi and President Biden met before their latest meeting in Lima. When they met in San Francisco, they announced that there will be 50,000 American students given the opportunity to study or exchange here in China. So let's take stock 1 year on of this relationship based on the extremely vibrant, I would say, until the past few years, student exchanges between the two countries. What are the progress? What have been the progress using your specific examples? What are the biggest obstacles or the weakest links, and what solutions can we realistically work on to keep the momentum, the hard-won momentum in the exact original words? So Dr. Yang, why don't we start with you and give us a few opening thoughts, please.
Thank you so much for having me here. For your question regarding the recovery of the student exchange and educational collaboration, I think it's going better than COVID-19 period, but not even closer to the golden age of like 2015 or 2016. So at that time, we each year we have around 50 department or bureau level, ministers, bureau directors. They joined the Tsinghua and Harvard Kennedy School training program. So 5 weeks here, 5 weeks in Kennedy, 1 or 2 weeks in Washington, D.C., prepare for their further leadership roles. This kind of program, very, very important. So I want this back. And for Yale program for Chinese university presidents, so 2 weeks workshop at Yale, very, very valuable for those academic leaders, from a professor to become, academic administrators, just like Jeffrey and myself. That's not an easy transition, but Yale's workshop, so many Chinese presidents, they getting together there in Yale and talk with those, operation details. So that's what I want to have back. For 50,000 young kids to visit, from U.S. to China, but only brief visits couldn't, help too much. I want 1 semester or full year exchange or dual degree programs. That's more important and sustainable. Tsinghua with our U.S. partners joint degree program stopped now. If those areas like in those areas like material science, like AI or something like that. Dual degree program. That's something I, as a vice president, I want to have more students who study in both universities and get 2 degrees, make lifelong friends. That's very, very important. So let me stop here. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so basically you are highlighting the importance of not just of student exchange, but the administrators, the engineers of the souls of people. Dr. Lehman, from your perspective.
So I agree with Yang Bin. I think if you go back to the golden age of 10 years ago, let's say, there were 15,000 American college students studying in China, not just visiting for a few weeks, but really studying here. There were 375,000 Chinese students studying in the United States. With COVID, everything fell. We're back up a little bit. We now have almost 300,000 Chinese students studying in the United States. Not back fully to the numbers before, but higher. We're not back so high in terms of American students coming to China. So there are still fewer than 1,000. The number was as low as 300 during COVID. NYU Shanghai has been honestly very lucky. Our numbers from the United States have stayed very high. But they've fallen everywhere else. So now 60% of the American college students in China are our students. And so that means that...
Is that a good thing?
And actually, Tsinghua Schwarzman College contribute another major part.
Absolutely, and we love Schwarzman College too. But what that means is, we really need to get back, and there are geopolitical reasons, obstacles. You asked about obstacles. Right now, it's been mentioned during this forum, the Level 3 travel advisory from the State Department is a deterrent to students thinking of coming over, and actually less to the students than to their parents. Who think it might not be safe. I spend a lot of time talking to American parents saying, no, it's fine. Come on in, the water's fine. But the Level 3 advisory is an issue. Part of why I like the 50,000 over 5 years, the YES program, as it's called, is it is aimed at high school students just coming over for a couple of weeks. But I think getting a small taste helps to make students hungrier for a meal. And the meal is to come and spend a semester or a year, or in our case, 3 years out of 4 studying here. Students from high school in Muscatine came in January of this year. About 20 of them came over and had a great experience, and I hope they will apply to NYU Shanghai when the time is right. The reason why I think it's so important, as Dr. Yang said, to come for an extended period of time is because this is a precious moment in the life cycle of people-to-people connection. You have college-age children. You know this special moment when young people are separating from their parents, they're forming their identities as adults. At that moment, if they can leave their home country and really get to know and become friends with people from other cultures, it can be truly transformative. And so at NYU Shanghai, because half our students are from China and half come from the rest of the world, every one of them has a roommate from a different country. And they learn a lot in the class, but I think maybe they learn more in the dormitory from that experience. So I hope that this YES initiative will make more students want to come for a full meal.
Great. When I do my program, I always bear in mind who are my listeners and what messages, what service can I render to them. So bearing in mind, the group of people who are here, who are already friends to China, I don't think we need to preach to the choir, but what really are the messages, for instance, from Dr. Yang, from you as an administrator of a major Chinese university, what would you like to tell and to whom at this particular moment?
So I like Jeffrey's word taste, the flavor, test the water, something like that. Similarly, for 140 second-year MBA students from HBS, they visited Tsinghua. 80% of those kids, that's their first time to China. So that's why I answering your question. I think look into the real China in their own eyes. That's very important. Not just listen to those I should say propaganda or those medias. So have some first-hand experience. That's why not just take courses at the Chinese university, but deep dive into Chinese practices. For example, when we offer management and leadership programs for American students, they like to go to rural, some places except Beijing, Shanghai, so they want to know the real China. So one of the very successful course, we call it, shadow leadership shadowing program. So we ask the student to shadow, to actually follow one low-level, county-level Chinese government officials for 1 week, as his or her shadow to witness the routine life of a Chinese government official, to understand why they get the support from local community and how they solve the real problems for the public. So just come more often. And I miss the spring break time in before COVID-19. So lots of American university presidents, provosts, during their late March time, spring break, they came to China, right, with the different Chinese counterparts, partners. But now, for 2024, very few.
Don't worry, I think they'll come back. They'll
Sure.
come back,
Yeah.
however long it's going to take. Dr. Lehman.
So I would just want to build on what Yang Bin was just saying, because I think it's even more general than U.S. China. I think one of the great changes in human life over the last 15 years has been how we get information. And unfortunately, everywhere in the world, because of smartphones and social media, people are getting a much narrower set of points of information about the world that is hiding from them the complexity of the world. And so in the United States, in Europe, and the rest of the world, the images that people get of the rest of the world are highly oversimplified, and there's a tremendous emphasis on the negative, because that triggers an emotional reaction, a kind of addiction to the media. And the same is true here in terms of perceptions of the rest of the world. And so the message that I want to give is explore. It's really critical now when the sources of information have narrowed for people to get out and explore and see, as Yang Bin was saying, see with their own eyes.
May I beg to disagree here? Because,
Sure.
you know, we've heard similar things about, you know, people having that, you know, watching their phone all the time, even if they are in a different place. But look, Li Ziqi, right, a Chinese young lady who's made huge headlines on international social media, and she's extremely popular with YouTubers. So it seems to me it's narrower in the sense, but also broader in another sense. So in this context, what really are we looking at? What's the mix of information that American young people are getting about China?
With due respect, as big as her audience is, it's a drop in the bucket of information that they're receiving. The overwhelming amount of information that they're receiving is not her YouTube. They're great stories and they're wonderful and we need more of them. But it's not like the messaging that used to be there 15 years ago and that students were exposed to. Yes, there is some new information, but it's much less than the overwhelming amount of negative information. And I'll just say, you know, just to give another example from the flip side. I spend a lot of time talking with Chinese parents who are saying, gee, it seems to me that every minute of every day there's a mass shooting in the United States, and so I shouldn't send my kids there. And there are mass shootings every day in particular spots around the United States, but the impression you get from media is that it's continuous and it's universal. And that is part of the psychology of engagement with information media now, and we need to find ways to respond to that. And yes, YouTube is great, but it's nothing like going and living for a semester someplace and being truly immersed in real life that's not just visual video.
Of course. Well, so being the pragmatic person I am, being the doer I am, I want to ask, knowing the uncertainty that's coming, and let's not get too pessimistic. I mean, for instance, the upcoming president, I actually don't have much information about his upcoming policy concerning American students visiting China, although there may be more hostility, but I don't know. So let's not, you know, beat ourselves up at this particular moment. At this moment, what really is the weakest link in terms of attracting more American students, or students from Western countries in general, I would say? For the Global South, I don't think it's a problem. For America, Dr. Yang, and I'm going to still focus on students. What is the missing link here? Is it information? Do they know about the YES program? I mean, are you, what is it?
In the past, when we attract American students, you know, for undergraduate education, like in NYU Shanghai, we offer undergraduate programs taught in Chinese, Mandarin Chinese. That narrows, you know, our applicants pool and lower, I should say, the quality of the applicants. That's why, starting from next year, 2025, in American term, it's the class 2029, we will offer 4 undergraduate programs purely taught in English at Tsinghua. So just like, you know, NYU Shanghai, we want to attract those American students, very brilliant, but couldn't, you know, work in study in Chinese
Because of the language barrier.
We want, you know, eliminate that barrier and to have more, I should say, those average American student, average of not they already know China, they like China, and they study Chinese language in high school. So I want focus on another part of the American high school graduates. So urban planning, architecture, STEM, and also psychology. Those are 4 programs we offer next year.
To American students?
To American and also to global students as well.
To global students.
Yeah.
And STEM as well.
STEM
because
as well.
Tsinghua, as we know, is very strong in this discipline. You're not worried about American students coming and learning the best out of China.
We like that, yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, okay, Dr.
Yeah, I mean,
The weakest link.
Yeah, I am optimistic, I have to say, and I think the weakest link are travel barriers of different kinds. Cost of flights is an issue now, much more so than it used to be. Worries about getting visas are an issue. It would be, I know China has now extended the opportunities for visa-free travel from Europe, and it would be great to extend that to the U.S. as well. And just
there has been facilitation, right?
There's been facilitation, and things like the YES program are great. I think the weakest link is simply the difficulties of all kinds that young people now face in coming here, relative to going somewhere else, going to Canada, going to Europe, going to other places. They have limited time, they're making choices. I think once people are here, and just to give one small example, this past August, the NYU men's basketball team and the NYU women's basketball team, and the women's basketball team was national champion in their division. We, with the help of ESPN and Tencent Media, brought them to Shanghai. They were with us for 2 weeks. They played exhibition matches against Shanghai Jiao Tong University, and they had a lot of time to explore Shanghai. None of them had ever been to China before. All of them had a fantastic experience, and they went back talking about how great it was to have the chance to come, and they all want to come back for longer periods of time in the future. And again, I think that opportunity to cross the border changes perceptions.
So moving forward, Dr. Yang, I'm sensing a slight helplessness, a slight frustration in your tone. Moving forward, on the student level, obviously you're trying to do what you can. On the administrators level, you were saying something completely stopped, the mutual training program, or just for people to meet on that very important level. What will you be focused on? What will you do where you can do something?
What we can do, 2 suggestions. One is we should do something not that, I hate this word, not that sensitive. For example, business education. So all the MBA programs, double degree, like Tsinghua with MIT, still going on, very good. So for business students, can we organize some roundtable, get them work together to do more MBA exchange and like dual degree programs? Keep the climate warmer. That's something, I suggest one thing. The weakest link you just mentioned, I think it's the China initiative in U.S. That's make lots of Chinese scholars, they worry.
Chilling effect.
Chilling effect, and also Ripple. Lots of, they are afraid of, just visiting China caused so many troubles for them. And get PhD students, Chinese students from China, to study with them, make trouble as well. So, that's the weakest link.
That's the weakest link. If I may, one last quick question from me. What about the other way around? Chinese students to America, still the largest source of international students. still a lot of interest, but is there anything to be worried about that? Because they are also very important, the future leaders of China, possibly dealing with bilateral ties. Dr. Lehman.
Just the advice I give all our students is when you go to the U.S., get out of a bubble. Don't just hang out with other Chinese students. Get to know American students, but also get to know students from other countries as well. That's the opportunity. And not every student from China who goes takes full advantage of that opportunity. And I think it's a shame. So I encourage that. And in terms of opportunities in general, I think I can't say enough about the arts, music, sports as points of connection. Yesterday there were a number of pairings that talked about those domains. They really work for students too. And I think the more you can get musicians playing together, like at Tianjin Juilliard, the better.
Community college students in the United States, low-income families, are there resources? Could there be ways to get them interested and over here?
I do think that it is important for 501c3 charitable organizations to focus on this population and to support their opportunities to come and visit and spend time here. The government programs are not so strong for this. The university programs are not so strong for this. It is private philanthropy, I think, that is going to make the big difference. And I completely agree that this population is a critical part of sustaining people-to-people understanding, not merely at the level of the elites, but across the whole society.
But the YES program, the Young Envoys Scholarship Program, is not aimed at, exclusive children from rich family with the best scores. Dr. Yang, do you have something to say about that? And also from Tsinghua University, how much money do people need to have to come to Tsinghua and study? Or how good they have to be?
Tuition-wise, it's very cheap. It's just 40,000 RMB each year. So.
Yeah, and it's not a very special case for China, right? Yeah. Chinese universities in general. Yeah, but you do have high academic bar.
But I also agree with Jeffrey. I fully endorse your suggestions for the community college. Those students or learners, I think, very, very important to broaden the participants of YES and other projects. That's why, I suggest we could do more, I call it 7 p.m. Program. Because, after COVID-19, we almost forgot online education. So during pandemic, online becomes, inevitable. But now, all the faculty and students, they use teaching, learning in person. Could we organize more virtual classroom between China and the US? So 7 p.m. here or 7 p.m. there, we have a 12-hour time difference. And to let the students discuss one topic in different perspectives. And without, it's quite low carbon, right?
Absolutely.
But we need two professors. They facilitate the discussion, and also we could include community college students who discuss. That's not something very technical.
The more the merrier.
Yeah. In
this regard.
Yeah. Don't forget, Jack Ma, when he visited Australia, his alma mater, that's Hangzhou Normal University, but very, very important for his not just career development, but the future development. Yeah, so community college, I totally agree with you.
Second question about whether NYU has a political mission to bridge gaps and whether, if so, what you're doing. in that regard?
So we're a university. Our mission is academic. Our mission is teaching and research and service. What I would say is that because of the changes in the environment, both COVID and the political, we have acquired a more of a political role. We've always had a mission in terms of helping our students to develop a cosmopolitan vision, the ability to be effective working in multicultural settings. More recently, we recognize that we are a bridge between the U.S. and China, and it's an important bridge. And so when Secretary Raimondo came, she visited a class, she saw Chinese students and American students studying together, and then when she went back to the U.S., when President Xi Jinping went to California, there was a banquet, and before he spoke, she spoke. And she talked about her experience at NYU Shanghai, and she spoke with great passion about the importance of having American students and Chinese students studying together, she said, shoulder to shoulder, and speaking candidly and learning about each other's cultures. The American ambassador, Nick Burns, speaks often about how important it is for American students to come to China, how important it is to have students spending time at Schwartzman, at NYU Shanghai, on the ground. So yes, it has become part of our mission.
Great, don't damage that bridge. Last question, so from PKU student, level 3, the keywords I jot down, level 3 restrictions.
So as I understood the question, it was framed in terms of the difference in the challenge of coming across borders, the asymmetry there. One is driven in part by legal regulations, or at least the perceptions that are sustained by legal regulations, the perception of danger that is associated with level 3, and the other was framed in terms of reality. I'm not so sure that there's such a great reality of danger. There's a challenge for Chinese students going to the United States, but I still think that the benefits are overwhelmingly greater than the challenges in reality. In terms of the perceptions associated with level 3, I think the U.S. government would point, I think there were some students from Georgetown who had troubles here. I don't think for myself that would be enough to warrant a level 3 status when it comes to college students. But I'm not a government official, so that's not my call to make. I think in terms of the work that we do, it really is important to convey full information to help parents and students make accurate decisions and to appreciate the benefits that will come to their students, to their children from crossing borders.
How about wrapping up each with a sentence on, going forward, despite the uncertainties, what you would try to do in one sentence, really. Dr. Yang?
Let's keep doing things interesting and in the long run valuable, and make the relationship warmer. Just as you mentioned, don't damage the bridge. For example, Tsinghua's advisory board for the business school. So keep those platforms, leveraged by the both sides.
Dr. Lehman?
I just would say my own observations of our students is that the education that you can get in a very diverse environment, multicultural, multilingual, is unmatched. And so everyone should continue to the best of their abilities to stretch themselves, to get out and engage and encounter people who are different. And I agree with Yang Bin, we need to keep these cross-border relationships warm. There's a natural warmth among people, and I
Right.
think we need to capitalize on that.
Okay, thank you so much.